there is a contract, and then it's just a movement. You can see the movement of the payment, movement of the documents, and movement of the goods. So this is the movement of the goods. You can see movement of the goods, right? And you can see this is a contract, and this is the movement of documents from the exporters bank. Exporter bank is a works as the advising bank and then negotiating bank, and importers bank works as a issuing bank. So this is the flow chart, complete flow chart which we have already discussed. So this much is very clear. Do you have any doubt on this?
What's the full
Which one?
of CIF?
Yeah, this will be discussing in this. This is what I want to tell you. At the point where goods are loaded on the ship, till that point, it is called FOB, free on board. Free on board, which means the goods have been loaded. You can see here. See, this is something I want to tell you.
It pertains to loading port. FOB.
Loading port. We'll be going in more detail in this very video, but I just want to tell you. See, at the exporter level, the goods starts from the factory. The goods are manufactured in the factory. They are packed, and this packing is export-worthy packing. And depending on the inspection, whether it can be done. Of course, inspection cannot be done after packing. Inspection, whether there are two kinds of inspection. One is the buyer's inspection, that is SGS. That certificate is required in the LC. And second inspection is the government inspection, right? So both has to be done before packing. Before packing. Otherwise, once the goods are packed, if you want to do testing, then you have to open it. After packing, the right to open the goods is only with the customs for physical examination, and that too random. Out of 100 shipment, only one. And that too, the damage will be point something, which is acceptable by shipping company, so that they can give clean on-board bill of lading, right? So custom people will not damage the whole shipment, right? First of all, they will not damage the shipment. They will not even touch the shipment unless the computer says, unless there is a random generator in the computer, and then there is, that particular shipping bill is marked by the computer for physical examination. Otherwise, it will not do, right? So it will go on self-declaration. Whatever you have declared, trusted, right? So what is the meaning of this? That the goods start from the factory, manufactured, tagged, and before packing, inspection is done. After packing, goods come out of the factory, right? Now, here the points are starting. At what point goods will be referred to as delivered to the buyer? It can also be at the factory gate, isn't it? It is also possible that you have a policy that I am not worried about. I'm not worried about the buyers. Whatever I manufacture, it is easily sold. So you have a lot of bargaining power. So you will say to the buyer, I am not bothered. The moment goods are out of my factory, I don't want to take any headache. It is yours. So what will happen? Everything else will be managed by buyer only. All the goods pickup, custom clearance will be taken care by buyer. So this can be one point. Second point can be the goods have come out of the factory. Goods have come out of the factory, and there is first carrier standing there. It may be truck. It may be train also. If your factory is located near to the railway station and you have got your private railway line, it is possible, right? Or it can also be ship, small ship. Probably your factory is on the small seaport, and there is small ship is standing there. So whatever may be the first carrier, whatever. In most cases, it will be the truck. In majority of the cases, it will be the truck, which is standing outside your factory. This is called first carrier. So you can say, okay, my goods are out of the factory. I will give it to the first carrier. I will give it to the first carrier. Now my responsibility is over. Now it is your goods. That can be second point, right? In this case, when I give it to the first carrier, and if you are talking about place to place kind of game, place to place, because that is the main game today, place to place, right? In which case, the goods are not loose. They will be going by container, obviously. right? In containers. They are well packed. So I can say that my goods have been given at Delhi, whether in the factory or near the factory, wherever is the first carrier, I have given nominal responsibility. That can be another point. Now, this can be another third point. That I have loaded the goods on the first carrier as a seller, loaded, and also paid for the MTO, complete multimodal transport operator. All the money I have paid. That is also possible. Right or wrong? See, if there is a MTO who is taking care of place to place shipment from Delhi to Dusseldorf, suppose. One possibility is that you have given it to. I am not bothered about money or insurance or anything. I am not bothered. That is one part. Second part is that I have given the goods and also I have paid. I have paid, but I am not responsible. I have given the goods, but only I have paid. Right? His money. Right? So he will take the goods and he will take the Dusseldorf. Now, third possibility also can be, third possibility, that the goods are such that they do not come into the purview of place to place. Right? They are loose. They are not in the proper packing. They are loose, like loose kind of items. Or there is some problem because of which you as a seller has to ensure that they reach the port. For example, Mumbai port or Kandla port. They reach there near the ship. It has not been loaded, but it has reached near the ship. You can also say, sir, I have done this, my job. My goods may be loose. Now, place to place term is not possible. It is sea terms now because you are in the port. So I keep my goods there. Now my job is over. Now it is your responsibility. I can do that also. That can be another point. Right? So there can be many such points which I will be discussing again. So FOB is that point. When you have brought the goods to the ship, near the ship, that can be another point. And second point can be that you have loaded also on the ship. So once you load on the ship, then it becomes FOB. And before you have not loaded, you have just kept there. It is called FAS, free alongside. Free alongside, which means you have not loaded the goods.
Maybe it's lying in the warehouse at home.
Yeah, that is also possible. That is also possible. But it is near the ship. It is near the ship. So that is FAS. You're right. It can be in the warehouse or it can be in the dock also. It can be in the dock also. Now, loading is not your problem. I will tell you which are, see, all these terms and conditions depends on the situation and nature of business. Ultimately, the aim is to reduce the cost. Suppose the loading, if done by the buyer, reduces the cost, you will not load. If loading is done by you and then you reduce the cost, you will do it. So, everything comes out of the economics of the game. Then I will give you the examples, we will go in detail, then you will understand the meaning. But what you have to understand, FOB means the point, which is sea term, not place to place. Here you are not saying Delhi to Dusseldorf. Here you are saying Mumbai port to German port. So there are only four such terms. One is FAS, second is FOB, third is C&F, and fourth is CIF. They are only four.
Third is
C&F and CIF. Total four. As per the Incoterm 2010, there are only 4 C terms and 7 place to place terms. 7. Some I have already told you. One is the E term, that is X factory. Right? Second, I have told you FCA, free carrier, which means first carrier. Sorry, not free, first carrier. FCA. First carrier, I have put the goods, then I am not bothered. I have put the goods, now it is your responsibility. Similarly, there are total 7, which I will discuss with you. 7, place to place. So terms can be either place to place or they can be C terms. C terms are mostly for the loose items and place to place terms are mostly for the properly packed items. Because if you give this, basically in place to place term, what you are doing, this whole dirty job of taking goods from Delhi to Dusseldorf, you are outsourcing from somebody. But you can only outsource with somebody if those goods can be properly packed. Like for example, in your example which you were saying, fragile items. probably you cannot outsource it. But in the fragile case, to reduce the damage, ultimately that damage you have to pay. So what you will not go for place-to-place terms, you will go for C terms. You will go for FOB or FAS or CIF or CNF. Why? Because you cannot depend on the third party to protect your goods. But if you are doing yourself, probably you can reduce the damage. Instead of 12%, you can bring it down to 5 or 6%. So you will not use place-to-place terms. Place-to-place terms are for those goods which can be properly packed and there is no fear of damage. You can throw it, you can do anything, nothing will happen. And the packing is so good, you are not bothered. So you can easily outsource. You can take the risk that this company will do it, or this Reliance will do, or Adani will do, or Container Corporation of India, CCI will do, or TCI, Delhi, Bangladesh, Delhi Dhaka. India Bangladesh business is done mostly by TCI, Transport Corporation of India. That is also MTU. But in that case, sea is not involved. They do by road, right? So these are you can outsource this whole business, dirty business, to somebody else if your goods are like that. But if they are either loose or fragile, you will go for C terms. These are only 4. Okay. So this FOB is the C term. CIF is also C term. Here in this chart we have only shown the C terms, but I will show you the others. Okay. So this part is clear. FOB, CIF is clear. And anything else which is, because you have to be very clear about this whole layout. If it is clear, then everything will be clear. If this whole game is clear and LC is clear, the game of, because everything comes out of this and the system of LC. Everything comes from these only, right?
So there can be more number of port of loading and port of discharge.
Yes. This carrier, port of loading, port of discharge. In between there can be a change of vessel.
High sea agreement can be done.
High sea agreement, you know what will happen? In what happens? In high sea, importer instead of, that is a commercial matter. But importer will change. He will sell it to somebody else. Because he is not the actual user, he is a intender. Or a trader. Right? So what he will do? He knows that these many goods are sold every month. So what is high sea sale? No, you know, I tell you what happens. Suppose your needles are coming from Japan, right? There is some needles which with that quality is not manufactured in India, right? Everybody knows that it will come either from Japan or from Germany, and there is always a shortage of German needles. And as a second choice, people are going for Japan. But if you are having some very good relation with a German company, you are 100% sure that whatever the shipment will come will be sold. Now there are two ways of selling it. One way is that you get an order from an Indian company, that you place the order, I will ship the goods from Germany. It will take 1 month, obviously, right? Now the party says, sir, we can give the order because German is not easily available. Sir, we can give the order. But sir, we don't know whether we will require after 1 month. They don't know, right? You will say, okay, I am giving you a very good price. Just give me the order. So what you will do? You will sell at the normal price. And probably that party will take also because German needles are not easily available. So the party will agree. Now what is the problem? You are selling at the normal price. Now you want to make more money. And you know it is going to sell. So what you will do? You will say, sir, you are not sure whether you will get it, you want it after 1 month. But you are sure that you need it in next month week. He says, yes. This will be the price. He will say, no problem, sir. I am ready to give 20% extra. But I want in 1 week. Right? So what will you do? You already know the party. You will order for next 6 months those shipments. They will keep coming every month. You already know where it is. So you will sell at 20% premium because you are giving delivery within 1 week. That is the purpose of high seas. Right? So the system does not change. Only this party change.
Party import of Both can be.
And the person who clears the goods, that change. Because in that case, what will happen? The goods will be cleared by the other party. And the LC is transferable. The LC which you have, no, sorry, not LC. Sorry, the bill, the BL. The BL is transferable. So it can be, in that case, it is also possible that BL may be in the bank's name. Consignee may be bank. So you only require an NOC from the bank, right? You can do that. Otherwise, what will happen? In a C shipment, there is a consignee name. Only consignee can claim, right? But if the consignee is a bank, then you can always get a NOC from the bank and you can transfer it to somebody else, or you can have some other arrangements. There are methods by which you can transfer. So your transport document should be transferred, obviously. But even otherwise, let me tell you one thing. A bill of lading is a negotiable instrument. What is the meaning of a negotiable instrument? Suppose there is 1,000 rupees note in my pocket. It is my until it is in my pocket. The moment it goes to some other pocket, it becomes his. BL is also like that. The only problem is the consignee. There are various ways of, there are different types of BL, wherein, see, ultimately, whoever holds the BL is the owner. Like, for example, if the bank does not get the money from the buyer, then bank only has to go to the customer and get it claimed, because the bill of lading is with the bank. So, since it is a negotiable instrument, but let me tell you, do you know that, do you think that airway bill should also be a negotiable instrument? Airway bill. Suppose the shipment is coming like this by air. Can you do this transfer of goods? Should be. Think about it. Should airway bill be a negotiable instrument like this? And if yes, why? And if no, why? Think very logically. I am coming very logically.
If bank is involved, it can be done.
See, airway bill, I'll tell you the problem with the airway bill. Everything is same, but there is one problem. You have understood this game. When the goods are loaded on the ship, you get the bill of lading, you make invoice, you make packing list, you make certificate of origin, you go to the bank, you take the copy of the LC. Which bank you go? You go to the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank's checks will require 1 day to check. Next day only he can send. And then goods will go by courier to the issuing bank. It will take at least 2-3 days. Right or wrong? 2-3 days. And the issuing bank also has got 5 days time frame as per UCP 600 to accept or not to accept. Right or wrong? Okay. Now after 5 days or maybe more, the buyer's number will come after say 8, 9, 10 days. Buyer will receive the goods, the transport document minimum 10 days later. But in case of air shipment, goods have already reached. On the same day it has reached. Suppose you make airway bill also negotiable instrument. What will happen? All the airports of the world will be filled with goods. There will be no space for passengers to move. Obviously. Are you understanding my point? Suppose, like shipping bill, in case of shipping bill, the shipment takes minimum 15 days. By that time, all this jugglery is already over. And the documents are with the buyer. So buyer can claim the goods using the negotiable instrument. Negotiable instrument means without that document you will not get the goods at the customs and the firm shipping company. But in airway, in the air case, whatever is the name is given on the airway bill, there is no need of any original document. No need. No, there is no. It is not a negotiable instrument. Just bring the fax copy of that. Bring your PAN number and iCard. Take the goods. Why? If they don't do that, all of the airports will be filled with goods, right? So what is the meaning of this? That this game of high seas you cannot play In case of air, you cannot do it. So how the game has to be done in case of air? Like in your case, needle will be coming by air, right? So how will you do this business? In this case, there is no question of high sea sale actually. The goods have to be cleared by you only at the customs, and you have to sell it probably at the airport to the party after getting it cleared and getting the custody of the goods. But in the ship case, you need not get it cleared. You sell the documents because shipping bill is a negotiable instrument. Whoever is having it, he is the owner. So you give a NOC. On the back also there is a system. You can sign on the back that I have no problem if this person becomes the consignee. On the back you can do it. Endorsement. But it has to be whatever the bank is involved. You need a bank NOC. Bank NOC is required. But it's not difficult. Bank will charge some small fees and will give you an NOC. That's not a problem. So high seas business is possible in case of sea shipment. But high sea business is not possible in air. Right? In air, whatever is the name given, he only has to get the custody and get the clearance for the custody. Nobody else can do it. And that is the reason bank in case of air shipment ask for 100% margin from the buyer. Obviously, because tell me why. In the case of LC, where it is an air shipment involved, bank will ask for 100% margin. Why? Very logically, very logical. While opening the LC in the air shipment, bank will ask for 100% margin. Why? Think. You can answer it very easily. Have you understood what I am saying? In the case of air shipment, you go to the bank and say you open the LC. He will say, give me 100% margin. Why? Think.
Because if buyer doesn't claim on time, then this product will become their liability. No? Where to?
Whose liability?
Banker's liability.
How? See, try to think logically. See what again listen to me what I'm saying. In the case of air shipment, where the air shipment is involved, you go to the bank to open the LC. Bank will say, I want 100% margin. And sometimes not 100%, 110% also. That I will tell you why 110%. But definitely 100%. Why? See, as I told you, that airway bill is not a negotiable instrument. So buyer need not go to the bank to collect the documents. Fax copy in any case is going to come from the buyer with shipping advice. You use that first copy, take your I-card and you can claim the goods. So why the buyer will go to the bank? There is no selling involved, na? Documents need not be sold by the bank. Right? So there is no question of selling. It's all the money should come in advance to the bank, because in air shipment the documents are not negotiable. Even the fax copies, the non-negotiable copies can be used, which in any case is a mandatory requirement. Whenever you ship the goods, whether by sea or by air, you have to send the shipping advice along with all the documents immediately. That's mandatory, right? So all the documents are already the non-original copies are already with the buyer. So buyer can claim the goods. So where is the protection of the bank? So to protect the interest of the bank will ask for not 100, 110. Why 110%? 10% for the other charges, bank charges, amendment charges, to safeguard. Right? So bank asks for 110% margin. And there is another advantage of 110%. You will come to claim the leftover to the bank. So you will also collect the original document. Otherwise you will not even collect the original documents from the bank. Am I right or wrong? In fact, in air shipment, The custom clearance can also be done without original documents, just by the copies. Otherwise, this business will not work. Otherwise, customs warehouses will also be filled with all the goods, right? So it's a very tricky thing. Air shipment is tricky. That's why by quantity in the world. That's why by quantity in the world, that's why by quantity in the world, 99% of the cargo is by sea. 99%. In value terms, 95% of the world cargo is by sea. In value terms. By quantity is 99% and by value it is 95%. Because air shipment is a tricky thing. Air shipment, is, first of all, is costly. Right? Secondly, all this problem by air, which I told you. And in air, the only advantage in air is the time factor. Only advantage that you will go for that. In fact, there are two advantages. One is the time factor. Second is the perishability. If some goods are perishable, like flowers, fresh flowers, or something which is perishable, shelf life is less. That has to be said by. So that's a necessary evil, right? So in fact, let me tell you, the goods which require air shipments requires very special handling. I mean, special knowledge with the banks, the opening of the LC, with the documents, because there is a lot of possibility of fraud. Obviously, there is a very strong possibility of fraud because original documents are not there. Many things can happen, right? So you have to be very careful when it is the air shipments. You have to be very careful. You have to understand the whole game. Somebody can play some game in this, maybe buyer or the seller, right? See, it's not. It's very safe. Because all the original documents are there, banks are there, customs are there. Like there is a very less possibility of any hanky-panky. Very less. It's not possible. So whatever is the flexibility is on the paper. If the endorsement is there, it is on the back. It is there, right? Original, right? So you really cannot do. There is no loopholes. But in air, everything is loophole. Obviously. So banks will not take any risk. So this point is very clear. So this I have already made it clear. Same thing. It is the same thing. But you can see here steps. Steps are given there. So the first step is this. Again, same. The contract. Step number 1. Step number 2, issuing bank. Buyer is going to the issuing bank. Step number 3, issuing bank is going to advising bank. Step number 4, advising bank is advising. Step number 4, then step number where is step number 5? Yeah, is this. So buyer prepares the goods. Step number 5, and load the goods. Step number 6, he gives the documents to the negotiating bank. Step number 7, the negotiating bank checks the compliance. The word used is compliance. Whether the documents are compliant. The technical word is compliant. Compliant means no discrepancy. But ultimately, who will tell there is no discrepancy? Not this bank. Ultimately, this bank will tell whether discrepancy. It is 99%. He will say okay. But there is still 1% chance that there may be still some discrepancy, which even this will not understand. Right? Because ultimately he has to pay. Right? So step number 7. Step number 8. The documents are sent to the issuing bank. The issuing bank again check the compliance. 9. Check the compliance. Then he sells to the buyer. Right? By that time payment has been already made. That is not mentioned here, but payment has been made. And finally, this step number 11. The buyer has already bought the documents and uses the documents to get the custom clearance and the handover from the shipping company. Same thing. So it is more clear in this. So this part is absolutely clear. Now we will be building the whole concept on this later. Again, same thing. Exporter, importer, request for LC issuance, same thing, right? Request for LC issuance. By whom? By importer to the bank. LC receipt and notification. Notifying bank and advising bank is same thing. It is same thing. So what do you use notifying? Review of conditions. Who will review? Your advising bank can also review. He can advise you that there is a mistake. If you do this, you will land up with this problem, that problem, right? Your LC conditions are not right. Because it is not necessary that apart from the documents, it is not necessary that whatever the condition is given in the LC is as per the contract. No, not necessary. Everything you will not have in contract. There may be some condition which even the buyer has not set. Because bank also can put some conditions because he is paying with money, right? So it will be reviewed by your advising bank. Exporter, secure goods, export goods. Assign inspection, he assigns the inspection agency, SGS. And if the value of goods are more, then he has to apply to the Indian government also for inspection. Then customs office, export reporting. Reporting by what? By shipping bill. Shipping bill is nothing but an export declaration. You give this declaration in advance that before this date these goods has to be cleared, otherwise I will not get the clean bill of lading and I am exporting these goods. If you have any objection, please let me know. So you are declaring to the customs and it is online. It is online, right? And shipping instructions, because shipping instruction is given to the shipping company if it is fragile or if it is up or down, you know. So those shipping instructions has to be given. And before that you have already booked the shipping space also, right? That is another step which is not mentioned here. You have to book the shipping space also with the use of shipping exception only. Then insurance companies request for ocean cargo insurance. Negotiating bank, you go to the negotiating bank with the documents because bill of lading is already with you and the other documents. And negotiating bank collect the payment from the issuing bank. So same steps. Just I have shown you a repetition so that the words are clear, like notifying, you know, all those things. Same thing, I've just given in a different form.
Sir, at which stage payment is physically transferred from?
I told you, when you give the documents to negotiating bank, right? He's a local bank. What he will do, he will keep the document for 24 hours. Why? Because he is charging you for negotiation. Now it is also a responsibility of the bank to get the money. He will charge 50% in advance and 50% after the money comes. If the money does not come, probably he will not charge the rest of the 50%. So now there is a business interest. So what he will do? The bank will keep it for 24 hours. He will check the compliance. Compliance with what? The documents which you have brought, are they compliant with the letter of credit conditions or not? He will read it very technically, carefully. There will be SWIFT codes in the LC, right? So he will study the codes. What is the meaning of this code? Whether it matches. You cannot do it, but the bank can do it. So if there is any problem, within 24 hours, I will say there is a problem. You kindly correct, otherwise it will become a big problem later on. You will have to go for some abandonment charges or something, or buyer will create problem. So he will give you another 24 hours to correct the discrepancy, right? 48 hours. 48 hours is after 48 hours, if everything is okay, he will make a scan copy. He will scan all the documents and electronically send it to issuing bank. And the physical documents he will send by courier. Right? Nowadays, because the scanned documents are going from the official bank, right? This 5-day period starts immediately. The issuing bank will not wait for the original document. The process will start. Why? Because it is not directly coming from the beneficiary. It is coming from a bank, which is a negotiating bank. It's an official document, even if it is scanned, right? So the process will start, and by that time, courier will also come. So 48 hours is already gone. Then another 5 working days, banking days, working days. Within 5 days, either you will get the payment, if it is side LC, or you will get the refusal notice, or you will get the acceptance letter. Any of these three things will happen within 5 days. Simple. So everything is timed. No hanky panky. Everything is timed. Clear?
So then once the acceptance letter from the receiving bank will reach to beneficiary bank, then immediately this benefit will be transferred from this beneficiary bank to the seller.
No. See, acceptance letter will come only in nuisance LC. In the side LC, acceptance letter will not come. If refusal notice is there is another thing I want to tell you. One more thing. There is a 5-day period, 5 working days. Period is there. In the case of side LC, there is no question of acceptance letter. Either it is refusal or money. In 5 days, if refusal notice does not come, money will come on 6th day. It will not come in the 5th day. Again, there is a 24-hour period for transferring the money.
5 days free time.
Is the processing time. So within 5 days, if the refusal notice is not given, it is automatically accepted.
Payment would hit on 6th day.
6th day. Payment will hit on 6th day. As per UCP.
Irrespective of the physical receipt of the goods.
Goods is not the concern of the bank. He is only bothered about the documents. He is only bothered about the compliance. But this compliance will take care of everything. Don't think that they are fools. The documents are such, you cannot do anything. There is no room for any manipulation. The goods have been already loaded. Only then you will get clean on-board bill of lading. Right? So bank, whatever the system is there, it is very foolproof system. Right? Obviously.
During transit, some quality may get changed.
During the transit. So it will be the case of insurance. If anything happens to the material during the transit,
then specs get changed. Not only any.
So that's a damage. So that will be taken care by marine cargo insurance, and who is responsible to claim the insurance will be decided by the Incoterms, which I will be discussing. You will soon understand what is the meaning of Incoterms, and that is also very crystal clear. Incoterms are very crystal clear. They will tell who is responsible for what. Correct? Now suddenly we are coming to that part. So this part is clear? Any doubt? Fine? No loophole, no loose things here. Everything is tight. Okay? Okay, now we are coming to Incoterms. What is Incoterms? Incoterms is international commercial terms. Now, what is the purpose of international commercial terms? Incoterms means now the latest Incoterms is Incoterms 2010. Okay. What is Incoterms? I told you that depending on the nature of the goods, depending on the situation, depending on the bargaining power, depending on the economics of the whole game, at different points, something has to transfer from the seller to the buyer. And what are these somethings? Something has to transfer from the seller to the buyer. When in a simple transaction, in the morning you go to the shop to fetch milk, what do? You carry some money with you. You go there, you pick up the milk, put it in your bag, you take out the money and give it. The moment you give the money, the milk is yours. Now you are the owner. The shopkeeper is not the owner. So after the milk has been taken, and because of your mistake, it falls down and the milk spills, it is not the responsibility of the shopkeeper. Why? The moment you have given the money and you have put it in your bag, it is your property. Title has changed. But this is very simple. But in international transaction, it is not so simple. In international transaction, it is not like buying milk. No, it is not. It is not. you have to understand there are several points on the way where this title is one, ownership. Second is the responsibility. Obviously, responsibility will depend on title. The moment title is with me, I am responsible. The moment title transfers, you are responsible. Right? Now, second part is who will bear cost up to what point? That is another point. That is nothing to do with the responsibility or title. No, that has nothing to do. That is based on the economics and the convenience. Economics and the convenience. Money is no problem. You pay, I pay, no, doesn't matter. If I pay, reduce the cost. If you pay, increase the cost. But title transfer means now it is not your baby, it is my baby. And what is that point? Right? So two things. One is the responsibility or title. And second is the cost. Right? Is it clear? And these points can be many. So what they have done? They have created 11 such points. 11 such points on the way where something is transferred to somebody. Something is what? Either title or the responsibility or the cost. Right? So it has been very well defined. The moment when you sign the contract, what are the terms of delivery? Whether it is ex-factory, whether it is FCA, first carrier, which I told you, whether it is FAS, free alongside, whether it is FOB, free on board, whether it is C&F, cost and freight, whether it is CIF, cost, insurance and freight, like that. Clear? So there are such 11 terms. Out of these 11 terms, 4 are C terms. FAS, FOB, CIF, C&F. Because, why they are C terms? Because these points are near the port, near the ship. That is why it is called C terms. All other terms are place to place terms. I told you, place to place. It is also called multi-modal terms. It is also called multi-modal terms. Correct? So you have understood? Now, but it is just starting. We will go a little deeper. Because this is the part which once you understand, many of the things will be clear. Okay, here you can see here. Terms. In earlier version there were 13 terms. But now the scenario has changed, the way of doing business has changed, so it has become 11 terms. These are called Incoterms 2010. 7 are place to place terms. What are these terms? X-Works, EXW. FCA, free carrier. Right? CPT, CIP, DAT, DAP, DDP. This I will explain to you the full form. This I will come to. So these are all the place to place terms. But what do you have to remember? They are E terms, they are F terms, they are C terms, they are D terms. And the place changes. E terms are near the factory, F terms are near the carrier or the port. Right? C terms are on the board, absolutely, somewhere with some more money involved, payment involved, right? And D terms are in the destination country. Delivered. D is delivered. Delivery terms, which means they are beyond border, right? So E, F, C, D terms, including your C terms, right? So this it will be more clear to you in the next slides. So this point is more or less clear to you that these are the terms. Okay. Now here it is very clear. I'll go one by one. Let us try to understand these colors. There is a dark color here. There is a blue color. There is a orange color. There is a yellow color. Is it clear? They are different colors. Right? What is the dark color? Seller bears the cost. Dark means seller bears the cost. Light blue, who bears the risk? Who will bear the risk? Who is having the title? The person who is the title, who should bear the risk. Correct? So this is the blue color is seller bears the risk. Orange color is buyer bears the cost. Cost. At up to what point cost has to be borne by whom? So orange color is buyer bears the cost, and yellow color is buyer bears the risk. So their distribution or division of two things. One is the cost, and second is the risk. Same thing. The same thing I was telling you. And both are not mutually inclusive. No. Cost is a different thing. Cost is a different thing. Risk is a different thing. Anybody, for your risk, anybody can pay. If somebody is paying, it does not mean that he is having the title. No. Payment is purely on the convenience. Because ultimately, the money has to come from buyer only. At the end of the day, money has to come from the buyer only. Either seller pay or the buyer pay. If the seller pay, he will include it in the cost price. If the buyer pays, he will exclude it.
It's a matter of agreement.
It is a matter of agreement. But risk is a different thing. Risk means up to what time you have the title and up to after what point I have the title. Where the title has transferred. If the at any point the title is transferred, then even if insurance has been taken by you as a seller, but if it is my risk, then I will have to claim it from the insurance company. Whoever is having the risk, he has to claim it. Correct? I think there is no doubt about this. Anybody can pay. See, insurance company is not bothered who pays. Insurance company is bothered who is the beneficiary. Who is, suppose there is a claim, money has to be paid, whom should we pay? If anything happens on the way, if the ship is drawn, if the goods are totally damaged, or 50% damaged, or 40% damaged, you have to give the claim. So tell me the name and address and phone number of the person. I am bothered about that, nothing else. You pay, your brother pay, or your mama pays, or whatever pays, I am not bothered. Anybody can pay. So payment is a totally separate thing. The point is that who is responsible? Who is the person who is the beneficiary of the claim? Right? So whoever bears the risk, he will claim. Right? So X works. Logically speaking, you tell me at what point title should transfer. X works. X works means at the factory gate. Tell me.
When goods are out of the factory.
If the terms are X works, obviously title transfers the moment goods comes out of the factory. It means when the goods reaches the outside the gate, the representative of the buyer should be there. He should take the custody of the goods, obviously. Whether the truck has come or not, that is not your botheration. Whether the first carrier has come or not come, that is not your botheration. The goods are out of my factory, my job is done. I am not responsible as a seller. You can see here. X works. You can see the seller bears the cost till the outside the gate of the factory, including the packing and everything. Everything is done. But the goods are out of the factory. That moment the goods are out of the factory, seller is out. You can see. Even the blue color, even the risk is out. In the X works. Can you see it? Blue color. Blue and dark color. Black and blue color. Both are out. Which means seller is absolved of cost also, further cost, and seller is absolved of the risk also. But what is the benefit to the buyer in this case? First of all, why buyer will agree on X works? That is a very big question. Why the hell buyer who is sitting in a foreign country will agree on X works? Two reasons. One is that buyer was chasing the supplier for last 2 years to supply the goods, and supplier was having so many orders, he was not able to give. And finally, when he is giving, he will give his own terms. Hello? Yeah. Yeah. Ma'am, I am not in the campus today. I am in the MDP. Yeah, I'll be out for 2 days. Okay. So, one is the bargaining power. Bargaining power of the supplier is so much because he is the only supplier. He is the sole supplier. It's Williams and Francis. But normally, Williams and Francis doesn't run. The second is the economic reason. What is the economic reason? Suppose a buyer is a very big buyer in USA. And USA buyers are very large importers. Basic t-shirts from Tirupur or handicraft items from Bhubaneswar, that area. He buys, in one consignment, he buys 4 crore rupees worth of handicrafts, which you cannot supply. You only cannot supply. Even if your factory is in Bhubaneswar, you cannot supply more than 40 lakh rupees per month. Right? So one shipment maximum you can supply is 40 lakh. But if he buys 40 lakh rupees shipment, he neither has the interest nor economics works out because he is a bulk buyer. His USP is bulk buying. By doing bulk, he brings economy of scale. He has already booked 40 containers shipping space for next 2 years. And ships are going on particular date. Right? And he has already had a long-term contract with the MTO, multimodal transport operator, at a very, very, very cheap price because the quantity is so much. But quantity is not 40 lakh. He has assured to the MTO that my minimum assignment will be 4 crore rupees. See, MTO has agreed on a very, 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 very cheap price per kg for sending the goods from Bhubaneswar to Düsseldorf. Very cheap price per kg. But what condition? The minimum assignment value should be 4 crore rupees, right? Now, but you can supply only 40 lakh. So what he will do? He will enter into a contract with you and 9 other parties in Bhubaneswar, each 40 lakh rupees. And 10 parties will become 4 crores. And he will give you that your goods should be delivered during these days, 2-3 days he will give you, that within these dates, your consignment should be ready outside the factory. You will say, okay, no problem. Even if it is 1 week earlier, you will put the goods outside the factory in that date. You can do that. Date can be matched. Now, what is the advantage? He will ask his MTO that in Bhubaneswar area, these are the 10 parties. Please collect the goods from these 10 parties between 21st March and 23rd March. Now it is your responsibility. MTO will be very happy. No problem. He is getting a consignment of 4 crore rupees. Right? Now what happens? He has already asked for a very good price, X works. You have given a very good price. Why? Because you have no headache. There is no headache of sending the goods to Bombay or giving to a MTO because MTO will not give that price to you. What price he has given to the fund buyer, he will not give it to you. Why? Because you will ask for 4 lakh rupees consignment. So price will be high. But this buyer is getting that price for 4 crore rupees consignment. So it will become cheap. So what is happening? The landed cost of the goods in USA is at least 12% less, at least. And that is the margin. And the volume of business is so high. 4 crore rupees from India, 10 crore rupees from China, 3 crore rupees from Vietnam, 2 crore rupees from Bangladesh. His total volume is 25 crore rupees per month, and 12% is a less landed cost. 12%. That is his margin. Got it? So he will be very happy to go for X works.
Logistics cost.
Logistics cost has reduced.
But if the volumes are not so high, sir, then
First of all, USPs, in US, I'll just share with you a small thing. I arranged a buyer seller meeting in CII. There was a buyer from USA. He only imports one item, only one, that is baby bottles. Baby bottles, so he came here. 20 exporters came. 20 exporters came. And this guy was standing there. Everybody says, "Oh, bottles hai? Ek do container, one or two container he will ask." He said, "I want 40 feet containers per month." People said that even all of us, even if we pool, we cannot create more than 5 40 feet containers per month. He is asking for 40 containers. No deal happened. Next day he went to China and he made the deal. In China the companies are very big. Right? He says, if I go for anything less than 40 feet container, I cannot do it that. And if I don't get all the 40 containers from China, then I will give some container to India. Otherwise I will not give. Because it is very... See, taking all the containers from China, his price is not 12% less. It is 14% less. So he is making another 2% extra. He is making another 2% extra. Why? Because all 40 containers are coming from China and that too from the one party. No problem. See, this is the game. The US people do business like this only. The importers, what people are doing? I am an importer. What do you import? I import baby bottles. Oh, I am an importer. What do you do? I import fresh flowers. And in fresh flower, I import only roses. You import only roses with this such a big building. Yes, sir. I import from all over the world different types of roses. His job is to import roses only. There is another person. He imports only pencils. That is how the business is done in USA. It's totally volume game. That's why you ask any US person. That's why the goods are so cheap in USA. Goods are quite cheap. You go to eBay site on USA, look at the price, you'll be surprised. Not all items, but many of the items. Because they play volume game. Right? And because of these things only they do all this juggling. Now X-Works is items, then FCA, free carrier. Here, near the factory, the Prakashna. You can see here, Prakashna. So you can see the dark color and the blue color. Seller response. Bears the risk till the truck and seller bears the risk. Risk also and cost also. The rest is taken care by buyer. CPD. CPD, what is the full form CPD? Carriage paid to. What is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is, you can see here, risk is same. Risk is same. Risk is same. But what is the difference? Can you see? What is the difference between FCA and CPT?
Freight is paid by seller.
Cost.
Cost.
Cost of the freight.
Cost.
Whose cost? MTO cost. From this place to this place. Place to place terms. Whole of the money has been paid by seller. It is just a matter of convenience. Why? Because if you give in advance, if you give money in advance to the MTO, he will give you 5% discount or some discount. It was very easy. This could have been paid at this point also. It could have been paid. But then he would have not given the discount of 5%.
Time lag.
Time lag is there, he will not give discount. Because money is not there, only the goods are there. So there is a little bit of risk for the MTO also. Right? But in this case, money has been already paid in advance. He will give a 5% discount. It's a convenience. Otherwise there is no difference. And what is CIP? carriage and insurance paid to. What is the meaning of this? Carriage and insurance. That not only the cost has been paid, insurance is also paid. Again, convenience. But who is the beneficiary of the insurance?
As per contract.
Buyer.
No.
Buyer.
Because risk is of whom? Buyer. The risk of salary is already stopped here. But he has paid for the insurance. For whom? Whose behalf?
Buyers.
For the buyer's behalf. Insurance is to be claimed by that party which is bearing the risk. In this case, it is very clear. Now, these four are clear. Four are clear. Place to place. Then fifth is DAT, delivered at terminal. Delivered at terminal. You can see here. There is a difference. What is the meaning of terminal? This is a place, named place. Terminal means custom house office, where custom clearance has to take place. Terminal means where custom clearance has to take place. Right? So in this case, DAT, what is happening? The risk as well as the cost till the terminal, till the custom house, customs in that country is to the account of seller. This is called delivery terms. D. Again, it is a place to place term.
But at the terminal, it's the responsibility of buyer to get the clearance.
Get the clearance from the customs. Right? And also pay the duty. Just let me tell you, in the CPT case, it is place to place terms. Even the duty has been already paid. Can you see this? Duty is already paid. This actually, the difference is actually DAT and this difference is duty only. Basically, what is the cost involved in customs? Is the duty payment. Right? Okay. In fact, there are two differences. One is the duty difference, and second, also the cost of movement from the terminal to the. That is also two things are not paid, right? Then there is another delivered at place. In delivered at place, again it is at the place, but duty has not been paid. Duty has not been paid. In this case, DDP case, even duty has been paid. Duty has been paid. In the next slide, I will make it more clear. Because in this figure, understand these points. You can see here, you will have this chart with you also. In the next slide, I will give you exactly who pays what. I will just tell you in the next slide. So, it will become more clear. But what I am going to tell you, starting from E terms up to D terms, there are 7 terms. They are place to place terms. They are not near the sea. They are the goods which are properly packed in seaworthy packing, which can be taken by containers, which can be used by mechanical items, which can be lifted because they are mechanical things. But there are certain goods which cannot be, which are very customized goods, like some commodities, wheat, some boras, those kind of things, loose. So that cannot be handled place to place. That has to be handled in the sea, near the port. Loose items or fragile items, which we are talking about, fragile items. So there are 4 terms for that. Free alongside FAS. Here, till the port, the risk is of the buyer. Till the port. Right? Risk as well as cost. In the case of FOB, loading on the ship is also included. Because free on board. FOB is free on board. Right? In the case of CFR, cost, it is also called C&F. It is also called C&F, but cost and freight. So, the cost of loading on the ship and the cost of carriage, sea carriage. Not the risk, only the cost. Can you see? Only the cost of movement of goods from Mumbai to German port. That is also included in CFR. In case of CIF, same thing plus insurance. Right? In the next slide, I will tell you exactly who pays what. Exactly, I will tell you in the next slide. Because graphically, I cannot explain.
Sir, except in CIP, all the insurance, except in CIP and CIF, the cost goes, I mean, the insurance is in line with the cost. No? Insurance shall be paid.
Insurance is, I don't understand. Let me tell you, CIP and CIF, the difference is CIF is a CETA,
Yeah.
port to port. In the case of CIP, it is same thing, but from place to place. Right? It is not port to port. That is place to place. You can see. So the amount of cost and the amount of insurance increases. Actually speaking, if you look at it, this is a better thing. Place to place is a better thing. Because you are covered with a single insurance. Everything is covered with a single insurance. In this case, what will happen? This insurance is valid only for the sea shipment. In fact, there is no insurance at all before that. Can you see it?
So marine insurance only.
Only marine insurance. But here the insurance is multimodal. Any transport, whether it is truck, everything is covered in the insurance. So obviously this cost is more than the sea terms.
But in CPT, who will pay the insurance? Or there is no insurance?
CPT insurance is obviously paid by the buyer because this color is only for seller.
So
Right?
whosoever will pay
Insurance has to be paid. Otherwise, customer will not clear the goods. It is mandatory to have insurance. Marine insurance, minimum mandatory is marine insurance. But in place to place, for safety purpose, you are taking insurance for the whole journey. Basically, I tell you, in place to place case, other costs are same almost. Only the insurance part is more. But in that case, risk is also less. You can see here. Only the insurance portion is bigger. Otherwise, here, that cost is already there. Only reduction is the insurance. Insurance is a smaller portion. Otherwise, everything is same. Either seller pays or the buyer pays. Somebody has to pay. See, goods will not move without payment from one point to another point. Ultimately, somebody has to pay. But in the case of sea terms, insurance part is less. That is only the mandatory part. So what does it mean? It means something. Now there is a third category of goods. I told you one category of goods is loose goods, which should be used by sea terms. Second category of goods is which is fragile. And third category of goods is which are very price sensitive. Where you want to reduce to the minimum cost, even if they can be properly paid. So you will try to do what? You will try to use sea terms. Because you are saving money on the insurance. Now the third category has also come of the goods which should be using the sea terms, not the place to place. And there is another advantage. In this case, you are not using an MTO. MTO will also charge some service charges because you are outsourcing. You are taking the headache yourself, right? Of taking the goods to Bombay. There may be some indirect cost, but you are doing it. Why? Because you want to reduce further the cost. So what you are doing? You are doing the job of the MTO by yourself. So it means the third category where the goods have to be very cheap. I'll give you one example. Do you know that there is a very big export from India, from Raipur area, animal feeds, cattle feed. These are in Raipur, there is a lot of oil seed business. Oil extraction factories are there. Oil extraction. So after the oil is extracted, whatever is left,
De-oiled cakes are
de-oiled cakes, they are exported as animal feed. Right? It's a very, very cheap item. But it has to be exported. Because in other countries which are not having oil extraction factories, They have to import from somewhere, right? So it goes from India. So it has to go by sea terms. It cannot go by any place to place because the price is so low. By other methods, you cannot do it, right?
But in the case of the DDP,
DDP, duty paid.
duty paid,
Yeah.
how the seller will be benefited because he is incurring the cost right from his factory to the customer's end point.
In DDP case, the bargaining power of the buyer is very, very high. It's a buyer's market, right? He says, I'm not bothered. You bring the goods to my factory. But what is that? All the headache is taken by seller. Duty is being paid by. For doing this, buyer is so loyal, he is giving you 10% extra. Over the cost also. He is giving you 10-20% extra. Why? Because all headache is being taken care by the seller. Correct? Buyer is not bothered. Buyer says that I am so engrossed in my business, I do not have time. Bring the goods to my factory. You take all the headache. Don't worry about the money. Whatever you take, whatever price you want. Price is not a problem. So you will be very happy. You are adding value, right? You are getting a better price. Why not? You say, oh no sir, don't worry, I'll give it to your warehouse. Where is your warehouse? Give me the address. The goods will be there on this date. You will take all the headache. But you need not take any headache. You go to the MTO. And MTO will take the headache. Huh? Why you will take the headache? And you are getting 20% extra for this. What is the problem? There is no problem. MTO will do everything for you. He will pay duty also. There is no problem. Like a courier company. Courier company also do that. Courier company pays. Actually, courier company supplies material by DDP only. DHL when you send a Diwali gift or something, it is all duty paid. It is DDP only. What is a DHL? DHL is the MTO, multimodal transport operator, MTO. It is doing the same thing, but he is getting a very good price. For a small shipment, he is getting 3,000, 4,000 rupees for a very small gift. But he is doing it DDP, door to door, right? Clear? So next slide will give you exactly what happens. See, in the case of FCA, free carrier, different cost of the seller, different cost of the exports, which means what are the cost which actually seller is paying, which is not very clear from that chart. In FCA, carriers to port of export, carriers to port of export, till that cost is paid. Let us see, let us look again. Carrier, FCA, wait, there is some mistake here. Sorry. No, there is a mistake.
Factory to carrier.
Huh?
Factory to carrier.
Factory to actually carriers to the first carrier actually. There is a mistake here. This first is mistake. No, FAS, free alongside. It is CETAM. Up till unloading of the truck in the port of export. Up to that point, cost is to the seller. First is a mistake actually. First is till the first carrier, not the port. Right? In case of FAS, free alongside, unloading of the truck which is going to the port, and you are rightly saying either it is on the dock or in the warehouse. Unloading, now wherever it is convenient, you are doing the unloading. But once you do the unloading, your duty is over, cost is over. Right? FOB, free and board. Loading charges on the port, loading. And obviously, any charges before that will be also the seller. I am talking about the last charge. The last charge which the seller pays. In this case, free on board, loading charges in the port of export. I don't think there is any doubt. CPD, carriage paid. Carriage. Sea freight or air freight to port of import. Till the port of import, whatever is the freight is being paid by who? By the seller. Right? Not the responsibility. I am only talking about the cost here. In this slide, I am not talking about the risk. Only cost. Okay? CFR, cost and freight. Unloading charges in port of import till the point goods are unloaded from the ship. That is the last charge of the seller. Goods are unloaded at the destination port, German port. The 40 lakh goods have been unloaded, handicrafts have been unloaded in German port. Till that point, CFR. CIF, this plus insurance. This plus insurance. Hello? Yeah. हाँ मैम उसका तो अभी कुछ फाइनल हुआ नहीं है. हाँ अभी नहीं. नहीं अभी नहीं. Thank you. Okay, so plus insurance.
Sir, in CFR, insurance will be paid by the buyer.
In CFR, insurance will be paid by the buyer.
So unless otherwise stated in this slide, insurance, it will be paid by the buyer only.
Obviously, see somebody has to pay. Somebody has to pay. So what we are trying to tell you that which are the points which is the last payment done by the seller. Before that, every payment is done by seller only. So in CIF, loading on truck, port of shipment, port of import. See one more thing. There is small difference. Small difference here. That is very important. In CFR, unloading charges in port, unloading, that is a large charge. Here it is insurance also, plus loading is also there. Truck loading is also there. Little extra on the truck. Here unloading from the ship. Here till the loading of the port, loading of the goods on the truck also. Can you see? Extra. Unloading and then loading on the truck. Plus carriage. Carriage to place of destination.
It can be up to rack point also. Sir. Suppose we are loading a rack from Mundra port after importing some goods from China or other country.
Yeah.
And it has to be loaded into racks for within country, within India.
Within
say
India.
from Kandla to say Delhi or Karnal somewhere. So that would be included in
Yeah. Actually, it is given there.
rake insurance also.
Here, yeah, yes. In CIF, it is not only the loading of the truck, but the cost of truck to the place also. It is also there. Although it is a C-term, but you can see here there is another extra. Not only insurance, not only unloading, but also loading and also the cost of the truck
Loading
also.
into the rack, rail.
Either rake, whichever is the last carrier.
Last.
Whatever is the last carrier, it can be truck, it can be rake. So, including that cost also. You are not the responsibility, only the cost. That is also there. Right? So, there is a difference. It is not only just insurance, there is something more. You can see here. And VAT, import, customs clearance, and delivery. So, last charge is custom clearance but not duty. Custom clearance charges, last charge is custom clearance charges but not duty. In DAP, last charge, and in DDP, duty also.
Everything is paid.
Everything is paid.
Ready to eat.
Ready to eat. Right. So I think now it must be very clear that which are the last charge. This only the first there is a mistake here. Carriage to port of export, which is not there because it is also not visible from here also because this portion is not there. If that is true, then this color will be still this point. So there is a mistake. Okay, that's maybe somehow I might
So
have.
usually in contract, they write like CFR, Mundra, yeah, Incoterms 210, it's written there.
Yeah.
What is this? One SB, one SP we also write, like this is price, unit price, and one SB, CFR, Mundra code. India and Incoterm 210.
One SB, one SP. CFR to
CFR
is very clear. CFR is very clear. It is a CETA. CFR is a CETA.
compare करा तो इसमें
India. This is some product specific matter. It is not a general term. This is Chinese.
Chinese. ब्रैकेट में लिखा है नवंबर
This is some local sector specific term. It is not connected with the with this because I have never come across this stuff. It is related to that particular product. Something. There is some related cost of the product.
Sir, if we are a certified self-sealing organization, then the insurance certificate is set after the value of 5 lakh. Is it still required?
Yeah, after that value of your responsibility is to file the application for EIE, Export Inspection and C. It's a government arm. Your job is to inform them.
And
To
if you
come-
are not informing them?
If you don't do that, then you are in trouble. It is a
But at the exercise, we
It's
have
mandatory.
said that we are a self-sealing organization.
self.
All the responsibility will be taken by the organization. We are
If you have some
self-sealing
special, see, I have never come across any special permission like that. But it is mandatory at certain value. After certain value, it is mandatory to file EIA request. So that request is geo certificate unless the inspection take place. Once if the inspection take place, what they will do, they will put a stamp also. But that is but that is important. Like if physical examination has been declared, right? So what do you do? There is another column here. You can write here, inspection did not happen. Nobody came. So you give a self-declaration on the same paper, so it becomes a certificate. So you are writing correctly. You are not keeping blank. Then what happened? You are saying that the inspection, the people, it was not open for inspection. You are giving affidavit. You are writing. Fine. That your request only becomes your certificate. Fine. It's good. It's a very good system. You don't have to go anywhere. I think it's a very good idea. And it is very good for the government also. Because if they do all physical inspection of every shipment, they will incur so much of cost. You can understand. Right? So I think up till now everything is clear.
So just a rough idea of the last slide. What is
Huh. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
So for any export cycle, I mean, any idea of these figures and how much is the loading part and what is the normal
Amounts?
amount wise, yeah?
I'll give you
Carriage
an
charges or
cost sheet.
because that determines the Incoterms.
I'll give you an idea. Rough idea.
Yeah.
Rough idea. Suppose there is a shipment of 40 lakh rupees from Delhi. There is a shipment of 40 lakh rupees, handicraft items, Delhi to Düsseldorf. Okay? This okay? Oh, this has to go by sea. First, we'll go for sea terms. Let us try to do it from sea terms.
Yes.
Let us not go for place to place. Because place to place is a negotiation.
Yeah, yes.
It's a negotiation between you and the company. Right? But you should know the basic cost. Okay. I'll give you one example. Now 40 lakh worth of handicrafts. Let us assume you need a small truck. medium sized truck, 40 lakh shipment, one truck, right? And you are sending it to the port. Okay? So from Delhi, from your factory, let us look at the cost involved, right? You will contact the truck company, they will come to your factory, they will do the loading, they will take it to Mumbai, right? It is going to cost you something like one truck. Loading, unloading, everything taken care of. Because unloading has to be done at Mumbai, at the warehouse, right? In Mumbai, what are the costs involved? One is the port trust charges, custom charges, right?
SGS charges, CTS, CHS.
SGS is already, the charges are already in the factory, you are already given. 13,000 rupees you have already paid. There are port charges, custom charges, right? And then there are port handling charges. Why? Because the mechanized forklift to put you, and there could be some damages or some warehousing charges. I will tell you the. But before that, I will tell you the one. Suppose all the goods you are sending by one container. Suppose to Düsseldorf, right? Till the Düsseldorf port. Suppose you are sending. Although Düsseldorf is not a port, but let us assume. Let us not go into that part. So Düsseldorf, suppose, is a port. So you are sending by container, one container. One container will cost you something like, including all file charges, everything, $300. How much is that? 1.8 lakh rupees. At the price of, at a assignment of 40 lakh rupees, you already paid 15,000 rupees. You already paid 1.8 lakh rupees. That is a sea freight container, right? Okay. Now that also include the lifting of container and putting in the ship. These charges are the moment you stuff the container. Once it is stuffed, it is for the custom house to put the seal, right? Your cost starts from here. So basically you have to give these charges only these charges. These charges, as far as my understanding will be something like 25.
Majority portion is the sea freight.
Main portion is the sea freight.
And insurance?
Okay. Now coming to the insurance part. Okay. As far as my understanding, there are two things. Either you can have insurance, full insurance, or you can have this insurance, right? If you are asking for this insurance, as per my understanding, for Mumbai port to Düsseldorf, the insurance charges should not be more than 10,000 rupees, maybe even less. That depends on your how much business you are giving. It's very much negotiable. It will not be more than this. So what is happening? Basically what you have done, 15, 20 and 10. So you can say 50,000 rupees you have paid plus 1.8 lakh rupees. So 40 lakh rupees consignment, you have already done this cost, right? So approximately 2.5 lakh rupees you are already spending on this, including all. Now it is also possible that you don't do this yourself, you give it to MTO. You give it in Delhi itself, empty. Now you already know that if you do in C terms, your cost is 2.5 lakh rupees. Probably MTO will ask for,
Lesser.
probably MTO will ask for 3 lakh rupees. But all the headache will be of the MTO. So it depends what is the margin. If your margin is good, you will not take any headache. But if the margin is not good, you will do it yourself. Right? Right? I think it makes sense. This is how it will work. This is from my own experience. But it may vary from product to product. You must be knowing. I am not going into that detail. this price also varies from item to item. Do you know that? Sea freight is not same for every item. See, in normal logic, how does it matter whether it is a potato or a onion? For a shipping company, everything is same. See, once it is in container, why shipping company should bother whether it is a potato, whether it is an onion? Should not bother.
It's only weight that's
It is only the weight or the volume, volume or weight. But there is a international system of rationalized cargo pricing. What is the meaning of this? It is very similar to GSP. I told you GSP duties changes ABC countries, right? What is the system? Rationalized cargo pricing system, especially for containers. There are three categories of goods: A category, B category, C category. What is the meaning of this? All high value dense items, like jewelry, high tech machinery, electronics, they are all high cost items.
crude oil.
No crude oil. First of all, crude oil does not come into a container category. It comes in tankers. So crude oil does not come in this. A category items are high value items. B category items are normal items, like ready-made garments, normal items. Computer printers, volume item. How many printer will come in a container? Not many. It's a bulky item, average item. So density, that ratio is density, like jewelry. Jewelry, this much jewelry is very high, you know. So if you put A category item, this container may not be 40 lakh, this container may be 40 crores. But you are putting handicraft item in one container, it is only 40 lakh, right? Now, there is another category, C category, like animal feed. Animal feed. Although animal feed you are not sending by container, but there can be some cheaper items. Very cheap items. Like for example, Parle biscuits. Parle biscuit goes all over the world because they are the sole supplier of WHO for food security. Somalia, wherever there is a food problem, Parle biscuits are exported from India. Parle is the sole supplier for WHO. LC straight away come from United Nations. UN LC, they already have a revolving LC throughout the year for sending to Somalia, to all the places, right? No, biscuit is such a cheap item. The whole container will not be more than 10 lakh rupees, maybe less. Biscuits. So they come in the category C. Now, there is an international system of pricing. What happens? The prices for A category item will not be $300. It will be $600. Why? Because that is a 40 crore item. So they can afford $600. Correct? 40 lakh handicraft item, normal price. C category price will be 1500. Why? If they don't do this, C category item cannot be exported at all. Can C category item be exported if the price is $300? No, it is not possible. Why? Because 3 lakh rupees you are spending on all these things, the value of the goods is 10 lakh or even it can maybe 5 lakh rupees. How will anybody will export? It is not possible. Right? So there is an international system. It depends on the schedule. Schedule A item, schedule B item, schedule C item. So depending on which item whether it comes in schedule A, B or C, the container price will be decided. So from my knowledge, handicraft item will be schedule B. Correct? Got it? So I just wanted to tell you because you should be aware. The pricing is not same. It is product dependent. Okay?